Not too long ago, games being played between sides in the OFC region were few and far between. But today we rejoice, we celebrate, as all of next week we get another iteration of the MSG Prime Minister's Cup, this time to be hosted in New Caledonia.
Oh, yes.
OFC teams playing football again, drink it in. But Ryan, this one slightly different from last year's tournament. Run us through the slight format changes.
I will indeed, mate. So last year, the 2022 edition of the MSG Prime Minister's Cup, always rolls off the tongue, that one. We had 6 sides. We had 2 groups of 3. We had a group including PNG, Vanuatu, and Vanuatu B. And then we had another group featuring Solomon Islands, Fiji, and New Caledonia. They each played each other once, and then they went through into semi-finals, and then latterly a third and fourth place playoff, and then the final, which PNG famously won on penalties against the Vanuatu B team. We covered it all on the channel, but it was quite a thing that went as far and as wide as the BBC even covered it, didn't they, here in Britain. This year it's slightly different. We don't have 6 teams, we have just 4. There's no Vanuatu B. There's no Fiji, as they are concentrating on the sole 2023 Pacific Games and their preparation for that tournament. So, if I'm not mistaken, mate, the brief bit of research that I did before we jumped on, we have just 4 teams, one group. They play each other once, and then the winner of the group is the winner. Is that right?
Effectively, yeah. It takes a little bit away from it. I quite like a build up to a final of some sort, which you're
Yeah,
not going to get.
so
What
do
you
I.
sometimes get in these tournaments actually is a round robin group stage like we've got, but then the top 2 then play an extra game as a final.
Yeah,
which
I thought it
which
would
I
be that.
quite like. It's not that. It's like a World Cup group. They each play each other once, except then you just have a winner from that. So what it takes away from is the fact that let's hypothesize for a moment. The Solomon Islands are the last team to play. They play their final game against New Caledonia. They might go into that having already won, and I think that takes a little bit out of it. I'm not saying that they will win. I'm just saying, theoretically speaking, you can play a game that ultimately means nothing because the fixtures aren't happening at the same time. And I just prefer the whole full group stage and then just one extra game for a final, personally. But look, Fiji, like you say, concentrating on the Pacific Games. Logically, no Vanuatu B side. It was hosted there last year. New Caledonia, of course, they can't bring a B side because then there'd be 5 teams and that would just be very awkward for a group stage. But we still have an opportunity to see New Caledonia, PNG, Solomon Islands, and Vanuatu battle it out. The tournament to be played between the 8th and the 14th, so all of next week.
Yeah.
And it kicks off with PNG Solomon Islands at the Stade Numa Daily Magenta, which is just one of my favourite names of a stadium around the world.
It's
How
a
do
real
you
good one.
see this one going, this whole tournament? It's very tricky because we don't know what full squads are going to be. I've had a brief look, but you can never really trust them online. How do you see this one shaping up?
That first game that you just mentioned to is a humdinger, isn't it?
Yeah.
PNG Solomons. And I think that will set the tone. It's really tough, isn't it? And the lack of Fiji makes it a little bit more. I mean, for me, my thing straight away is if we want to talk about the teams and just blitz through them, mate. So Vanuatu, I don't know. I could just never find anything out about this team. What the squad looks like, what they're trying to achieve by participating. Obviously, they're trying to win it. But whereas you've got, so for PNG, they will be really keen to get back to, I'd say, winning ways. Basically, their last game out was the 10-0 defeat to Malaysia, wasn't it? So they'll just be keen to get back on a football pitch and put that one result behind them. They had a good 2-2 draw in June against Singapore, so they'll be hoping to take that performance into this. But again, mate, I could find out that their sports minister has come out and said that this is all about Pacific Games preparation, and actually they want to keep this group that they've got together for everything 2026 World Cup qualifiers. They feel like they've got a good blend of experience and youth. And just there was a little bit of narrative there. Their squad is fairly strong. Lots of the players that you'd expect. Kepo, Guinemba, Tommy Semi. I couldn't see Comalong. Is he not fit?
No, both Comalong brothers, I expect, based on what I've seen, not part of this because they want to make the Pacific Games squad, which is
Right.
later on this year, next month. So I've seen an update. They're both injured, but they're both hoping to be fit for the Pacific Games. So obviously they're just not being risked, which does take a lot out of their defence. Probably their weakest area, if we're honest, without those two, because as you've mentioned, Kepo, Guinemba, Dabinyaba, Semi. You know, they do have a strong attack, and it's expected that we see those usual faces again.
But they've got Daniel Joe's not bad at the back, and he's
No,
an experienced head. I don't know many of the others actually that they've got in their squad for defenders. Sorry, at the for this one, a lot of the midfielders we know, and a lot of the attackers we know. Dabin Yaba's a great name, isn't it, for this?
Nigel Dabinyaba.
So yeah, just a great one. They are So again, their sports minister's come out and said this, and he's wished the best of luck to the PNG Capitals in their defence of the trophy, because these guys are the defending champions, mate. So they're going to want to retain that title. For the Solomon Islands, mate, they've been the most active team from the Oceania region across 2023. Tri-Nations Cup, was it? I think they had a Tri-Nations Cup in March. Then they had those games against Malaysia and Singapore, as did Papua New Guinea. And now they've got this tournament, then they'll have the Pacific Games. So they would have played quite a lot across this year. Again, the managers come out and said that it's all about preparation for the Pacific Games for them. We'll do some stuff on the Pacific Games, won't we?
Yeah, loads of it.
Because there's 8 teams from Oceania competing in the football side of it, which is really cool. Like Samoa are playing, which is just great. My thoughts with the Solomon Islands is the last time that we watched them in this tournament, they were quite disappointing, weren't they?
They'll need to up their game. They were very disappointing. I think that we tipped them to win it.
Yeah, we did.
We hadn't seen any of Vanuatu, so it's so difficult. And they had 2 teams that were Vanuatu and the Vanuatu development team, as they were called, but it was kind of a mixed squad between the two, so it's difficult to pick that apart. But very disappointing from the Solomon Islands last time out. And if you look at their apparent squad, and there's so many names that you can recognise, that they're a very solid outfit, and they'll be seeing this as a warm up, like you say, for the Pacific Games. I believe they're hosting the Pacific Games this year.
They are, yeah.
So they'll definitely want to achieve gold at the Pacific Games. So they'll need to go stronger, and like you say, a lot of it does come down to that first game against Papua New Guinea, because I think that's going to be crucial. I don't think there's a particularly weak side out of the 4, but I think whoever wins and starts strongest on the 8th is going to put themselves in a really, really good position.
My early thoughts is that they'll want to Solomon Islands. They will want to redeem themselves from their exit for this tournament last time. I know there's been plenty of games that have happened since, but they got knocked out in the semi-finals to the Vanuatu B team, and then they lost to Fiji in the 3rd and 4th place playoff. So the only team that they did better than really was the quite poor Nucal that they had in their group. And speaking of Nucal, they are the 4th team in this one. I feel like they've hardly played, mate, haven't they?
So I would say that New Caledonia are the weakest team of these 4.
Never used to be the case, did it?
No, they're going
Nucal,
through.
they've regressed quite a bit. Yeah,
they have done, and I think if you look at the strongest sides, Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea, Fiji, Vanuatu, there is then quite a big gap in my mind. We could be surprised, but in my mind, there's quite a big gap before you get to the hosts, New Caledonia. Can they do something though as the host? We saw Vanuatu B get to the final last time when they hosted it. So maybe at either Stade Yoshida or Stade Numa Daily Magenta, they can put in a performance and get a result. Like you say, it's quite funny. There's a link on the internet to MSG Prime Minister Cup squads.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now, actually, mate.
If you click on that, you can see New Caledonia's supposed squad. I don't know too many of the names, rather than Yekine and Ulele in goal. I don't recognise too many of them. Papua New Guinea and Solomon Islands we've already spoken about. As you mentioned already, no sign of a Vanuatu squad on there at all. So it's difficult to know who we're going to see. Obviously, Nucal Vanuatu, that opening game as well. So yeah, it will be interesting to see. And I think, Newcal, they will need to step up their game, and this is going to be a big sign how they get on at home against Vanuatu as to how they might get on in the Pacific Games.
Just the thing about that Newcal team, they've got so many young players,
Yeah,
and you go through and none of them are. And I know this is really, really terrible
I know what you're going to say.
insight. You know what I'm going to say? None of them have a Wikipedia page
Mm-hmm.
for none of the players, and I know that's really, really a basic level of investigative work here, which is rubbish. So some hands up. I put my hands up there, but the forwards 2020, 19, 24, 23, never heard of any of them. And it's like, where's the I know Bertrand Kai and Georges Gope Fenepage, they're all old and have probably retired now. They're trying to bring the next wave of players through. But where's like your Wakana Muniz, your the Quars that used to play in midfield?
But even, Sele, Richard Sele, is not in the
Yeah,
squad. He's been an attacking player.
Beroun at the back. It's like
Yeah.
I know these are older players. I know, and it's just this squad is so young. The defenders 25, 22, 23, 23. A couple of 30-year-olds in there as well, but it's a completely new squad for Newcastle. Hey, mate, that gives us a real sort of point of interest. Who's the next big player from this squad to come through and make an impression on the international stage? Just quickly, mate. Just quickly before we give predictions on who we think is going to win and stuff. Vanuatu are off the back of that Intercontinental Cup, so they have been playing a little bit of games, haven't they? And their last game in that was that 1-0 victory against Mongolia. Again, very limited insight into who played and who played well and all of that good stuff, which seems to be the case with Vanuatu for whatever reason. Who do you think, mate, from the outset, who would be your predicted winner?
The only thing that would stop me from saying PNG retaining their title is the injury to the two key centre backs. And because of that, and because of their disappointment last time, I am going to back the Solomon Islands to win it. I think that if I had to do it in order of how sort of favourable they are, I would say Solomon Islands, then Vanuatu and PNG maybe level, and then New Caledonia least likely to win it would be my prediction. What about yourself?
No, I agree, but yeah, we're both really dismissing the home advantage.
We are, for sure, and that could surprise, as it did with Vanuatu last time out. I just feel like
Numa Daily Magenta, not the fortress that it
fortress.
once was.
Well, yeah, it's a good question, and when we interviewed Alwyn all that time ago, he said one of the sides that PNG used to struggle against the most was New Caledonia.
Different squad now, mate, by the looks of it, though.
It is, it's a totally different side. I don't think they have the physicality of the other sides just to the same extent. The Solomon Islands are the best footballing side, and Vanuatu and PNG are so physically powerful and physically strong. I just feel like they'll go on to not perform as well as the other sides. But Solomon Islands would be my predicted winner. What about yourself?
No, agree, mate. Agree. It'd be good to see Rafael back with a bang. Because again, the last time out in this tournament, he slightly underperformed. But yeah, Solomon Islands, early prediction would be the favourites to win it. But it does a lot. I would say they've got a hard first game. And if PNG are tight and resolute and grind it, hey, I don't know, mate. Solomon Islands to win, and we will be following every match on the channel, won't we?
We will be, absolutely. We'll be following every match closely, despite the time difference from New Caledonia to here in the UK. But you can see plenty from us across next week. And of course, build up ahead of the final matches, which are PNG, Vanuatu and Solomon Islands, New Caledonia, as the group takes shape before two finals. You know how it is. Any final closing statements from yourself, sir?
Looking forward to it, mate. And then looking forward to mate, what this is a little appetizer, a little starter, a little starting course ahead of the Pacific Games. So
Absolutely.
looking forward to it. Always great to have football back in this region. and let's go. Didn't know how to end that.
Let's
Didn't know how to end that
go.
sentence.
Let's go and hit that subscribe button is what Ryan was trying to say there. Like the video, it helps us out a lot. And comment your predicted winners for this one. The MSG Prime Minister's Cup is back in 2023 in New Caledonia. And as always, we'll see you next time.